Bro, I have to be honest. If you had not pushed me over the last like few weeks to go, I would not be going to Hawaii. I'm
Dude,
so excited that I'm coming.
me too. Oh my God, dude. It literally changed the game. You know, when you told me that you weren't going to Chicago anymore, and I was like, oh, so you're free to go on vacation.
That's the
And
same weekend. Yeah, it lined
yeah,
up
and
perfectly too.
yeah, that's actually so perfect. I think it's both of our first times. And so I
Yeah.
think we're both equally as excited, to go and explore this, heaven on earth is what they call it, I think. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know,
Kauai is about to be crazy. Based on some of the preliminary research that I'm doing, I think that's the island to see. If you're going to like one island and you want it to be less like mainstream or whatever, like Maui, Honolulu, all of that is there, but like Kauai is
yeah, it's less
cool.
touristy and more,
Yeah.
naturey, and I think that's what Hawaii is all about. And so I'm super excited for us. Oh snap! Are we recording?
Oh man, I think so.
Oh,
Oh
we
yeah, I see it. I
are.
see it. We are.
Oh,
We
oh,
are.
oh my God.
All right. Okay. Welcome to Yappy
Yep, yep,
Yar.
yep, yep, yep.
I am Vignesh Iyer,
And I have Himanshu Gautam.
and this is a podcast mostly about Desi pop culture. So over the next few weeks, through this podcast, we're going to discuss the hottest movies in Bollywood and Indian regional cinema, the TV shows that we love, spanning Coffee with Karan to the latest Famous Lives but Wives. We're going to talk about the celebrities that are involved in the industry and serve up our hottest takes about all of them. Why did we choose this name, Himi? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, when I first, introduced the idea to you, we knew we had to come up with a killer name. And so we were like brainstorming like all day, trying to figure out, what the right name was going to be. We started off like Picture Perfect, Film Fatour, The Nice Guys. And then, and then we were like, all right, we got to do like a play on like, some Indian words with like, something that represents us and then we came up with
You remember which one's yours or which one's mine?
so
Film
I think
Fatour was you,
Film Fatour was me.
and that set me up for
Yeah.
I want it to be alliteration, like FF.
Yeah.
I want it to be alliteration, right? It's okay. So I think I suggested Bindas Bhande. Like, that doesn't capture. It doesn't have an American word in it.
Yeah.
I think we kind of reached a high point when we did Bande Matram.
Yeah,
That was,
yeah, that one. I was like seriously considering that one because I was like, yo, like, let's like super national. But like, when I realized
no,
that,
but maybe it's subversive, because we're going after a patriotic slogan and making it. Are we bastardizing the patriotic slogan?
yeah,
Risky.
yeah, it's a little dangerous there.
I think the thing that I got really stuck up on that I'm so glad you talked me out of was Badam this.
Well, I think you wanted it to be like
Like but
like that, right?
I'm glad you talked me out of that one.
Yeah. That one was yeah. I mean, it's a great idea because like we have all these hot takes and like it'd be super cool to like have that there. But I think we can incorporate that still into our pod without having it completely be how everyone recognizes us by like yo.
Badam this.
Yeah.
No, I just looked up because you were like, yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't look appealing to me, and I was like, give me a chance to convince you. And I wrote you. This is what I wrote. Yeah, Bottom this could convey a number of things that they can snack and listen to our shit. It's a breezy and fun listen. Number two, badams can become this quirky part of what we do. Sound of a badam crunch every time we say our take. So it'll be like crunch, crunch, snare. And I remember writing that and going, oh yeah, this is a bad idea. This is not a good idea.
For reference, badam means almond. So
Yes.
Hindi, So,
That's the
for anyone who's a little confused,
it's like what is
why,
what?
why I didn't want to name our podcast Almond this.
Well, I'm glad that we settled on Yappy Yar, right? Because
Yes.
it needed to be an iterative process, right? We needed to get all of the flush all of the bad ideas out of our heads to come up with the good stuff. So,
Yeah.
hey, this was an important process.
Yeah.
But we still haven't really explained what it is.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, our Yari, our friendship, our dosti, our brotherhood is just, so, so special. And, we wanted a way to encapsulate that.
Hmm.
And, what do we be doing all the time, bro?
We just be talking, man.
We
We
just be
just
yapping. We be
just be yapping.
yapping
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
24/7. Like whether it's with us or we're out in public, like it don't matter. I think that's, a great representation, of who we are. And, our friendship, our Yari is just like so, so, so special. I literally woke up, I think, and I had this name, and then I texted it to you, and then you were like, "Yo, this is the
This is
one.
it.
This is
This
it."
is it.
And I knew I was like I think the name is it's still important, but obviously the content matters too. And I think we'd spent like 2-3 weeks just trying to figure
Just
out
the
the
name.
name. And I was like, okay, like if this is how long the name is gonna take, like imagine how long the first episode is gonna take. But thankfully, we actually got this set up and like going like very very quickly, and
Yeah.
so um
Yeah. Because it was almost like a North Star. It's like every time we would think we were overcomplicating or getting too distracted or losing focus from what we thought the spirit of the podcast was, it's like that is almost like a grounding force. It's like, okay, does this feel yappy or it's just like almost like an instinctive intuition, right? And so I think that was really nice. It was funny that you say that, that's all we do. Like that's all we do. We yap, yap, yap. Because I was talking to a friend 2 days ago and she was asking about you. I was like, yeah, we haven't talked all weekend. And, he just texted me today and was like, damn, dude, I have so much to tell you. I hadn't talked to her in 2 weeks. And when you don't talk to someone for 2 weeks, you don't like be talking about all the smaller details of the day.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But because we're so used to talking almost every day, not talking for 2 days, I was like, damn, I didn't tell him that I drove somewhere and parked my car there. It's like the little details.
The
Yeah.
aches of owning a car in DC. Yeah, I
Oh,
love hearing about that.
oh my God. Well, okay. So that's our name. That's what we go by. But I wanna break it down even more in terms of what the podcast will give to its listeners, right? So I want to lead with, because we said Desi pop culture, I want to lead with, do you feel like you might be an expert on all things Desi pop culture, specifically Bollywood films? Because I know your Bollywood films.
Oh hell yeah, definitely, without a doubt. I don't think I've met anyone who has as extensive of a dictionary as me. And if there's any listeners out there, please hit me up. I don't think I've not seen a movie since like a Bollywood movie since I was like born. I think I've pretty much seen every movie that came out like post 1999, 2000. And um, that's a pretty
I
big
concur.
feat, you know? That's a pretty big feat. And it was so much so to the point that when in high school, I actually ran out of like Bollywood films to watch. Like one, like they were starting to come out with more trash content as well, and I was like, okay, I need to expand my palette. And that's when I came across this YouTube channel. It was called Goldmine Telefilms, and there they would post Hindi dubbed versions of like Indian regional movies, so like Telugu
Mm.
movies, Tamil movies, Malayalam movies. They would like post Hindi dubbed versions, and like I only like fully understand Hindi, all right? And so that was like a big catch grab for me. I was like, oh shit, like I can watch other movies and still understand what they're saying like completely.
Wait, what was Ain't the a part of the rotation?
Entusan was, but they didn't have like those Hindi dub version. And so I was like their like number one subscriber and their biggest
I
fan
can
because
imagine.
they would
Like,
wait.
who
They'd
is
be like,
this
oh,
kid?
yeah,
Why is
yeah,
why is there always one like on our videos
yeah.
the minute it's uploaded?
Yeah, and
Uh,
yeah, that YouTube channel like changed my life and brought me, a wave of all this new film content. And I think that's why you were also, very surprised when we first met, is that like I had seen, like Tamil movies and Telugu movies before, and like I knew a lot of the actors from that region.
yeah, yeah. Can I be straight up? I don't think I've told you this before. So I grew up in South India and moved to the US when I was 14. And I think part of the negotiation that most first generation immigrants, especially if they moved mid childhood or in their teenage years, make is like how much of the culture and the culture exposure that I got where I'm from do I hold on to, and how much do I don't know, not necessarily forego, but kind of reprioritize to make space for some of the more current trends, right? And one of the things that I was like staunchly never gonna give up was watching Tamil films. I was like, I'm gonna go. I remember the first Diwali that I was here, 2014 October, a new Vijay film had come out. Okay. And I dragged my family to that, and I was like, we are watching this movie. Like, this is gonna be a thing that we do. And so when I came to college and met you, that was something that I was like, you know what, I can learn about all the other stuff, and anything else I will forego. But if someone mentions Indian films to me and they're not talking about Tamil, I felt like I was the guy that would have to like educate them and be like, you know what, it's not just Hindi films. There's this whole other world out there that you need to be exposed to. And then I met you, and you didn't need to be educated. You might have been educating me, Loki, on some of the, because you were also watching other regional movies. You were a huge Allu Arjun fan, Telugu superstar fan, and I hadn't seen a single Telugu movie until Bahubali came out, low key. So I
Mm.
was like, yo, this guy, I have met my match. I have
Yeah.
met someone that truly understands. And so yeah, I fully concur, because I think a lot of Bollywood fans can be Bollywood elitist in the way that they talk about Indian films. It's like, watch another movie. Like, there's so much good content out there. So much good content.
Yeah, it's not just
Um,
Bollywood. It's not just
yeah,
Bollywood.
there's a whole other world out there. Like for you, when you said you watched every single Bollywood movie, I'm assuming that that came from the way that your parents exposed you to films and the way that you consumed media at home. Because I think
Yeah.
like, right, like it's not that you get to make a choice when you're a child, like what you're
Oh
exposed
yeah.
to
Oh
receive.
yeah, yeah. No, it's watching movies was like a gift in a way, because it was like the only time really that I we got to like sit down as like a family and kind of like do something together. That was the one thing that kind of brought
Yeah.
everybody in, the house together, and that everybody enjoyed doing. And back in the day, we actually didn't go to the theater as often because it was expensive. It would only be for like those special occasions, only when you're like really feeling for movies like really good. Or my dad mainly never wanted to spend that extra money to go see, a film in theaters, when, he would just pull up to our local Indian junction and and go get hooked up for $1 of a pirated copy of some random movie. But because of that, that's how I was able to watch everything. Because my dad, because it was $1, he was okay with, getting a CD every time they went and got groceries, which was almost every week. So usually every week we'd come back with some movie or another that we'd, sit down and get to watch and experience. And so that's mainly the reason, why my Hollywood knowledge is so diverse, is because I literally have seen everything. And so my dad would want to watch it regardless. He wouldn't like look up the reviews or anything, He'd be like, "Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
this movie
I mean,
came
there was
out."
no
Like,
way to look it up. There was no review aggregator, no Rotten Tomatoes, no like
yeah,
YouTube reviews or
yeah,
Twitter. I really miss that in a way, because you would watch something and have a relationship with that piece of film or whatever it was, a song, based on its own merits and how it made you feel in
hmm
your first interaction with it, as opposed to, oh, this is how other people are feeling. Should I calibrate my opinions to theirs or whatever, right? Yeah, I mean, I really miss that. I do think part of my growing up experience was also like very much like a my parents would filter out what I could and could not see and could or could not be exposed to. The general film diet was like very, very controlled. It was like every now and then we would go out to the theater and watch a film because my dad was like excited about it, or my mom really liked the actor or something. Like it wasn't like a,
Mhm.
oh, this new movie's come out, like we have to go watch it.
Yeah.
But once I started becoming sentient
Mhm.
and became a more individualistic, independent thinker at 12 years old, I was surrounded by friends who were very much like, let's go watch this movie, or let's go watch it soon as it comes out, as opposed to like wait a couple weeks when the theaters are less packed. And then the theatrical experience in, I don't even have to talk about the Indian theatrical experience. It is a literal party up in there.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
to the point where like if you're gonna go watch a movie when it comes out, like the first weekend that it's out, you're not really gonna go watch the movie. Like you're not there to like listen to the dialogues or have it be a moving, poignant theatrical experience. Like you're going there to have a good ass time. You're going there, you're whistling, you're hooting. When the introduction scene for a big star comes on, it's like an intro song or whatever. You're dancing potentially. You're going all the way up to the screen and like partying it up, and overall just having a really really good time. And obviously, like when I moved to the U.S., that all changed because that doesn't exist here. Maybe in the Bay and pockets of the Bay Area in California, maybe, but certainly not in Southern California. I remember I told you, right? I went to that Vijay movie on Diwali. Dude, it was like maybe like 10 people there total, like four of whom were my family members. So that was quite jarring, to be very honest. It was like watching like a big star-studded event with just 10 people kind of just like sitting meekly in the theater. It was like a very weird experience.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I can imagine. I mean, I haven't got to experience a first day, first show in India, and I'm quite
Yeah.
jealous about that. But, I think you'd mentioned like, in the Bay Area, for example, like I think like there does exist difference like when you go watch a Bollywood film or versus like a South Indian film, because the crowd like changes a lot, and it wasn't until I went to go see Bahubali when I actually saw that like there were people and fans like cheering in an American theater. Like I hadn't
Yeah.
really experienced that, even for some Bollywood movies that I'd watched
The
there. Yeah.
experience. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But I think the reason we started this podcast is to be able to talk about stuff like this on a consistent basis, share our opinions on all things Desi films, TV, music, which is a big part of the film going experience, right?
Oh my
It's not
God, it
like
sets it apart. Like that's
it's not like
why.
yeah, it's not like you just have artists making albums. It's like every popular song is tied to the film, and the film is enhanced or deflated in some case. Like a good film could end up becoming a middling product if its songs and soundtrack aren't up to the mark,
Mhm.
and in the same way, an otherwise average film can be really elevated with the music.
Elevated with, yeah, and it's crazy because like that's how I associated music like growing up in America. Like I was only given access to like this Bollywood content, right? And I was listening to all these songs and I was like, oh my God, like music is amazing, it's part of every movie. And so at any time like a song, like an American song would come on the radio, I'd be like, yo, like what movie is that from? And the friends around me were like what do you mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not from any movie. And I'd be like, what? Like, so the artist just released it like just because? like,
Just to
like,
sit in your seat and listen to music
yeah.
staring at the wall.
And it almost gives the song more meaning, right? Because like you have something to associate it to, and in the larger context of a film, like you understand why that song was put there and like what the importance is of those characters. Like
Yeah.
oftentimes when you have like an American song's music video, it feels like it has almost nothing to do with the song itself. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Or
they,
or it either feels that way, or it feels like it's like a short story it's all about storytelling, right? So the 4 minutes to tell a story versus the 4 minutes in the context of 2 hours. So yeah, I totally agree. Okay. So we've talked a lot about, our love for films. We've talked about our backgrounds in a lot of ways, but who are we to each other? We kind of said, friendship, this Yari brotherhood, but, I think folks some context about who we are.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, we met in college. We went to UC Santa Cruz. So thankful for that experience. There are some very, very, pivotal events that happened in both of our lives during that time that we ended up being there for each other during all of it. Whether it was, the highs or the lows, regardless of, what was happening in our life, we kind of made like an effort to keep each other involved and informed, and in me in particular, like I was, ran into a lot of issues with, women because, I had very little experience and I kind of just needed someone to like talk to and vent to and just like, tell them about like everything that's like going on and
Okay.
like,
You had
and
no issues with women in the bedroom. Outside, though, we should clarify. We should clarify.
yeah.
It wasn't the physical at all. It was the
Yeah.
emotional.
Everyone's thinking like, yo, like, can't get
Yeah,
enough
can't get
for
it
what?
up. Comes talks to Biggie every time. Yo, it happened again.
Yeah.
No. We're talking about issues of the heart, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about all
Yeah.
that emo stuff,
Yeah. Oof.
feeling.
Um, feelings. Um, there there are a lot of instances like that we will share and bring about as the podcast
Yeah,
progresses because that's kind of the
yeah.
core of it.
So that is how we met. To give you a little bit more context, we met freshman year, probably the first week, maybe within the first couple days, and then started hanging out with each other. We'll detail how and why as the podcast progresses, because they make for really funny stories. But we started rooming with each other our second year, and then actually, I would say roomed with each other. Have been rooming with each other since, because it's like, let's face it,
Yeah,
the pandemic happened,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it felt like I was still living with you because we were zooming each other every single day, and we were watching. What were we doing? We were watching a ton of movies, lot of
Yeah, a ton of
AC films in
lot of
there, a lot of
movies and
TV.
yeah, a lot of
Indian
TV.
matchmaking had just come out
Uh,
that year during the pandemic. I
ooh,
remember when it dropped, it was like almost like a
yeah,
relief. It's like, oh my God, I
yeah.
have something to watch this with. And then we figured
Yeah.
that not only did we like watching stuff together, we also like talking about it. Like sometimes we would just call each other and not even watch anything. We'd just be discussing the films that we maybe watched by ourselves, or the stuff that
Mm.
we'd watched together the night before and stay just talking about it.
Yeah,
Basically what we
yeah,
do.
yeah. Just yeah, talk about the things that we love and why we love them, and at the core of that is our Yari, because that is what makes whatever we're talking about so special. I think that's the core of what we're trying to establish with this podcast is to help our listeners get a intimate look into perspectives and how we communicate with one another
Yeah,
and how we
yeah.
view certain topics.
And it's like, if we can make each other laugh, now the challenge is like, do other people find this funny? Yeah,
Yeah,
I think they
yeah,
might. I
yeah,
think they
exactly.
might. And like, not to be that person who's like, we've all been through a lot these last couple years, because I think like every piece of content that's been produced since the pandemic inevitably is like addressing the fact that the pandemic has happened and it was tough for everyone. But through all of it, I think uh, we've been constants in each other's lives, and really it was our friendship that was a reminder that maybe things aren't so bad. So on a day that was particularly heavy, or a week that was particularly heavy, the friendship made it all so light. Maybe we could just throw on a crappy movie, watch it together late at night, and just talk about it, and keep it light, and keep it fun. So that's the podcast in a nutshell. Okay, so what is this podcast gonna cover content wise? What are we gonna talk about in terms of the films that we talk about or whatever else?
Everything. Well,
To
ideally,
be honest, yeah. To be
yeah.
honest, yeah.
And so, but to narrow it down and give the listeners something to look forward to, one show that we've bonded over is Coffee with Karan. And if y'all don't know about that show, please go and educate yourselves so that you can enjoy and thoroughly understand the content that we will provide and the feedback that we give, and it'll make our opinions make so much more sense.
Yeah, if you do, go do your homework. We're on season 7. You got to go watch. If you haven't watched
Yeah.
it, go back and watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's something that we always look forward to and love sharing about. But in terms of Netflix shows, Netflix has been coming out with so much good content. Indian matchmaking. I'm sure everybody's heard about that show, and super excited to share our thoughts on that and all these individuals. I know some people who've met some of the cast members on the show, and maybe being able to bring in.
Hello, I'm LinkedIn connections with some of them.
Oh, right,
I've told you
right.
this. Yeah.
Yo, maybe we should like have him on an
The
episode.
show,
See-
I
yeah,
think, yeah, I think
that would
so.
be insane.
I
Oh my
think
god.
I can hit Aparna up and
Yeah.
have her come on the show. Shaker is actually friends with my mentor, so they went to school together at U Chicago. So we can arrange something.
Yo, that'd be so sick. That'd be so sick.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah. I think the one show that I'm personally most excited about is The Famous Lives of Bollywood Wives.
Another
And
Netflix original.
exclusive. That show, like, you really have to know your Bollywood knowledge because they go into the second tier of elite. But I think that's what makes it so much more interesting, because you get an inside perspective on what the lives of all these famous stars look like. And so getting that inside perspective is just super, super cool. And so ecstatic about that. But our bread and butter is the movies and filmography, whether it be Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and obviously some American films in there. But the catalog is massive. And we do watch a lot of content, so there is a lot of things to cover, but I'm just super excited to go with the flow and take it as it is and keep us surprised and keep the listeners surprised as well.
Yeah. Wishing everyone who's involved in all of this stuff well, and nobody wants anyone to fail, right? Like, I think they all work really hard. And, like,
we're going to be real, you know? Like, we're not going to sugarcoat anything.
You can't hype it up the way that they have and not deliver, which is exactly what they've been doing this past year. Like, all of the films that have come out, Lal Singh Chaddha, Shamshera, which was just a disaster altogether. At least Lal Singh was okay. Shamshera was like hot trash. It's been a rough year for movies. So a lot of things to look forward to. This is just the introduction to our podcast. We have so much more to bring, and we're going to try and be, pumping episodes out as much as we can. But that's been it for this one. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap?
No, just I'm super excited that we've embarked on this journey. Super grateful that we can give the content that we watch more meaning and more purpose and more intentional with how we watch it, because now we have an audience to share our opinions with. And I'm super thankful and happy that we started this. And to all the listeners out there, I'm super excited for y'all as well, because we got some good things cooking up in the pipeline. Can't wait.
Got to put our platform to use. That said, that's been it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Over and out.